Hello everyone, this is Faisal. Welcome to my channel on sports finances. This is an introductory episode. So what's this series all about? Well, for a start, I must stress that this is not in any way about accounting and debits and credits, which I will stay away from as far as possible. Now, every industry has its own unique financial features, and sport also has its own special financial nuances. So in a nutshell, the series will be on how sports organizations make money and how they spend that money. Topics covered will include revenues and expenses, certain business models, for example, of the English Premier League, and a discussion on why this industry is considered by some as a good place to invest their money in, maybe as team owners and franchise owners. I will cover the business models of large sports organizations such as the International Olympics, FIFA and World Rugby, the English Premier League and the NBA, and popular clubs such as Manchester United and the Chicago Bulls. We will also cover the impact of the current COVID-19 situation on the industry and how this may impact the future business of sport. This is obviously a fluid situation, but we all know that at least for the near future, it will not be business as usual, and it's therefore an important topic to cover. I will endeavor to keep each program to around 10 to 12 minutes and will try and put out regular episodes every week or thereabouts. So we'll start with a brief overview of the sports industry. What makes the industry special is that it's a combination of business and things that are much, much more than business. On the one hand, sport is entertaining and immensely enjoyable. It has health and many other benefits. It arouses deep passions, feelings, and emotions, and there are many instances of adults openly crying when their team has lost or even won a game. The media and people generally are drawn naturally towards controversies and scandals, and sport is full of controversies and has the occasional scandal as well. And while watching a close and important match, one can experience a whole range of roller coaster sensations. A tie break in tennis or a penalty shootout in football are examples of where your emotions can rocket in opposite directions and with each point and kick. Such is the agony and ecstasy of sport. And then passionate and vocal fans and team supporters also make sporting occasions memorable and enjoyable. And sometimes they collectively take on a personality of their own. For example, the Barmy Army is one such group that follows the English cricket team around and adds a lot of color and atmosphere inside as well as outside the stadiums. Obviously, it goes without saying that there's tremendous media interest in sport, and there are thousands of dedicated sport journalists and commentators that provide the daily coverage that fans need. There are thousands of sports magazines and publications, discussion programs, podcasts, and talk shows, and this in itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And some sport commentators become almost as famous as the athletes themselves. And names such as Howard Cosell in boxing, John Arlott in cricket, and Brian Moore in football are all well known to fans within that sport. Of course, at the very top of the ladder, you have the athletes and the superstars. And these athletes can have a huge following. Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, has a Twitter following of almost 84 million. That is more than the population of UK or France. The famous Liverpool football manager Bill Shankly once said that some people believe football is a matter of life and death. I am very disappointed. I can assure you it is much, much more important than that. This sums it all up perfectly in one sentence, and I don't think there is anything further that one can add to show the passionate and emotional side of sport. Then on the other hand, sport is now a huge global industry, and revenues have grown exponentially over the last 30 years or so. One report estimates that the global annual revenues generated through sport is between $500 billion and $1.3 trillion. Another report estimates that the industry and its associated businesses generated $490 billion in 2018, and which is projected to grow to $615 billion in 2022. Now that's a lot of money. And then there is an entire ecosystem that operates within and supports the industry. Among the main stakeholders are obviously the athletes, the club and franchise owners, national associations and governing bodies, sports leagues, investors, and many more. And in addition to this, there are various other groups that provide support. These include large professional sports agencies that, for example, manage sportsmen. They also organize sport events and also market and sell sport products. Then there are companies that manufacture sports equipment and sports apparel and clothing, and then there are other professionals who provide relatively new and specialized services to the industry, such as sports lawyers and accountants, sports psychologists, sport doctors, nutritionists, etc. The use of technology in sports has also increased so rapidly that an entire industry is building up around this. A simple example of this would be the ball tracking technology being used in cricket, golf, and tennis, and the goal line technology being used in football. To enhance viewer experience, tech firms are now experimenting with augmented reality and virtual reality, which is already part of some offerings these days and promises to be a very interesting part of the sport and for its fans. It's also interesting that sport has its own formal dispute resolution process that is managed through the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne. And while the decisions of CAS in themselves are not legally binding, many organizations choose to have certain major contracts subject to resolution by CAS in case of a dispute, in which case the ruling by CAS does become legally binding upon both parties. We'll talk more about CAS as well as WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, in a later episode. So it's the business side of sport that we will be looking at. We've mentioned the estimated size of the global sports market, and it's huge. Well, it's been reported that 92% of the market share of the industry is dominated by 8 major sports. So at number 8, we have golf with 3%. We have tennis at number 7 with 4%. Hockey at number 6 with 4%. We have basketball at number 5 with 6%. Motorsports, number 4 with 7%. Baseball at number 3 with 12%. American football at number 2 with 13%. And it's no surprise that number 1 on that list is soccer, which accounts for a massive 43% of the global sports market. It's a very interesting list. So what are some of the topics that we will cover in the future? I've already mentioned that we will cover revenues, expenses, business models, sport as an investment, and the impact of COVID-19 on the industry. In addition to this, we will cover the finances of major events such as the Olympics and the FIFA World Cup, which, as you can imagine, is a huge topic on its own. We will look at the commercial aspects and commercial partners such as broadcasters and sponsors that play such an important financial role within the industry. Taxation. Sport, like any other industry, is a business and therefore subject to taxation, and we will have a look at how the industry manages and tries to minimize its tax liabilities. Risk management. We will also cover how the industry manages the unique risks that it faces. So for example, assume that there's an important match on that will be telecast live all over the world. And let's say that due to heavy rain, the match is called off just before it's about to start. With thousands at the stadium who've paid for their tickets and millions waiting to watch the game on their TV sets. What happens in such cases, and how are such potential risks managed from a financial perspective? We will analyze publicly available financial information and the accounts for some organizations, such as FIFA. And there will be many other topics, some of which perhaps you can suggest that I should cover, and I will be very happy to do so. So I'm almost done with this episode. Now there are some action points for you. If you are interested in sports or in finances or both, then please subscribe to my channel, as it will hopefully get more and more interesting as we move along. And if you liked this particular episode, then please hit the like button below. And if there are any comments or questions on what you've just heard, then I would love to hear from you and will try and respond to you as soon as I can. And if there are any future topics that you think I should cover, then you can either suggest those below or write to me at sportsfinancesfh@gmail.com. So that's all for today, folks. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you will be there for my next episode. In the meanwhile, take care and God bless.